Welcome to the Clicks and Giggles podcast. This is your host, Jordan Rothwell Perry here. Today, I have such a fun, special guest who is making attorneys even, I feel like, cool again. It's so neat to see an attorney in the online space helping people, protecting people. I am here today with Amber, the boutique lawyer. Amber, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I love talking about this stuff and just nerding out in general.
I love it. I love it. I'm a lawyer's kid. And then my brother just passed the bar this last year.
Wow.
So actually was on meetings with them today. So that was fun. So yes, I grew up in a legal family, but I will say I still hire out other attorneys because my dad's like, I don't know what you're doing online. He's like, that's like the wild, wild west. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful that you have made it part of your career to help tackle that. So super excited to have you here. And I know I wouldn't do your introduction justice. Will you introduce yourself to everyone listening?
Yeah. So I'm Amber, attorney and founder over at the Boutique Lawyer. Um, this is my passion project of all passion projects. I started this business 4 years ago, when I've been in law for 14 years. I have a law
Yeah.
firm, like where we help small business owners, like trademarks, IP protection, business protection. But the boutique lawyer is kind of my education platform, trying to help new and small business owners, figure out the legal stuff because it can be so incredibly overwhelming trying to do things the right way, quote unquote. Um, and I know that I had my own struggles when I started a business, which is very different from just practicing law. So, trying to make those two things, business and law, like easy is my goal.
I love it.
So we
No,
do.
it's so needed. And I love that you've been in this business realm for 4 years. Same here, coming up on four pretty soon. Been consulting, like you said, for
Yeah.
like 14 years. And so I have actually used some of your templates. So privacy policy on my website,
Awesome.
terms and conditions are on there. So we're set in that realm. And then I just got the independent contractor agreement to look at my current contract and be like, what am I missing? Is there anything, all that good stuff. So I love what you're putting out into the world to help us business owners. So how did you decide to jump into this online space from being like more brick and mortar-esque attorney per se?
So I had been working for like law firms up
Okay.
until I was pregnant with my first child. That was like 7 years ago now. 8 years ago. And it's like, how old is he? So yeah.
Yes.
And I remember being 8 months pregnant and I had a whole meltdown at my firm, which by the way is an awesome firm. I loved that job. It was like my dream job at the time. And I was thinking to myself, how can I do this like super demanding job and be present for my son? Cause like I grew up in a household where my mom was a single mom and, just she was always working. And so she was never there, that kind of stuff. And I wanted, of course, the opposite, right? Like I want to
Wow.
be there hands on for my son. And I remember quitting. I told my boss, like, look, I can't work. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to, take time off. So I did. I took like a year off and then I burned through all my savings. As kids are expensive. And I was like, what am I going to do here? So instead of going back to like a law firm setting, I did start like my own law firm at the time. So that was 7 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a huge, like it felt huge at the time. I distinctly remember going and filing for my LLC and like creating my entity online. It was like such a cool feeling, so exciting, like the build up phase of
Yeah.
brand new business owners, everything is shiny and new and it feels huge, like to get this little email from your Secretary of State's office and saying like you're official, it feels
Sure.
really awesome. Which, I obviously I'm a lawyer. I kind of knew I needed an LLC like for liability purposes, but I did my own thing and then I started working with another lawyer. And as with any business, law is not an exception. Like we did not make a ton of money like right out of the gate, especially with some of our cases. Like it takes a while to I do personal injury as well. So the cases are different. You don't get paid
Yeah.
like on the front end, you get paid on the back end of the case once it settles, which could be 2 years or 10 years, depending on like what type of case it is. Anyways, so I wasn't making a ton of money. And instead of like hiring an attorney to draft a partnership agreement for myself, I truly went on LegalZoom and got their partnership agreement. um, or some version of a partnership agreement. I'm
Yeah.
God, at this point, it was such trash. Just
Yes.
anyways, long story long is that the partnership didn't really work out. We had very different ideals, did business very differently, as it turns out, different communication styles. So we had a
Wow.
business divorce, and that partnership agreement just was worthless. Like, it didn't talk about how a business ends, like how do you dissolve something. And those are all like super important things that ultimately could have cost me like millions of dollars at that point, because that was like 3 years down the road. The firm had become successful. Um,
Wow.
so nonetheless, that was a huge like learning experience. That, and then having to like hire employees and figuring out contractors and like all of these things you go through that the first time as a business owner, it's like, do I have to make every mistake in the book out there? Like, can somebody just not help me along the way? And so I had been in business as just a law firm for 3 years before I decided to like start the boutique lawyer, where I was like, look, let me create my own contracts.
Yeah.
Because I mean, once I did figure out, because there's lots of people in my field, like there's lots of competitors now and colleagues that, I have competitors I consider colleagues and like friends,
Yeah.
who do the same thing that I do. Like, we have a contract template shop. We help people like form businesses, file trademarks and copyrights. There's a ton of people in this space now. There were not as many people like 4 years ago. And when I did like start a social media account, because I was like anti social media for the longest time and never had like my own pages. When I started one, I, came across some people doing the same thing. And even then I was like, look, these contracts are still like $400, $300. Like, I think, it's like, maybe I could create something that's like really affordable for new businesses, because if you're starting
Yeah.
a side hustle, two, three, $400 is still a lot of money. And so, that's my goal. That's what
Yeah.
inspired me to do this, was to like, let me come out with a contract that's like good, affordable, easy to understand. And, it's been a learning process too, but I love it.
Yeah. No, it's been so nice because there are things in my business like especially owning a marketing agency, like I can put a landing page up, I can put a website up, like we do all that stuff. And then I was scrolling on and saw your feed and it's something about privacy policy and terms. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go get that. So I bought it, got it from you.
Yeah.
But it's just the things that like people are moving fast in business. And it's like, hold on, we have to pause a second here and
Yeah.
regroup.
Like, the legal stuff is not the sexy stuff. It is not the stuff like we want to do our next like social media campaign, and email is
Yes.
fun, and like collabs are fun, but like putting up a privacy policy is like hashtag not fun. So
Yeah. No, it's
yeah.
like it has to be done, right?
Yeah.
And so I love to the access to be like I think I got one of them at like 11 PM. I was like up late working. I'm like, okay, I need to just do this. And I implemented it right then. And so
Cool.
I love that it cuts out the back and forth between the attorney. Of course, you do need an attorney sometimes to be like, hey, what do we do here? What should we do with this? And of course, for counsel. But for things like that, it's like a no-brainer. So no, I think it's so smart. And I also love how you call, competitors and colleagues. I feel the same way. I love seeing like all the different attorneys on threads. I'm addicted to threads. I need to actually post more, but I just read all day or, when I should be working sometimes. And I love just kind of the camaraderie back and forth between y'all. Cause like at the end of the day, you're just trying to help people and keep them, i- in line and be protected. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really good.
I mean, it's
So
like so competitive in our field too, though. So it's interesting. Like, thread sometimes is a messy, messy thing.
real yeah, that I'm intrigued. No, I'm like, "Wait, I need the tea." Yeah, it's very interesting to
Yeah.
watch. That is so wild, and so as you built this business, did you just build it through social and then, like,
Mhm.
networking online, or, like, how did that come to be?
Well, I mean, so I did everything backwards. Like, I tried
Okay.
ads first, like Google
Hard.
ads. Like, somebody just shoot me, right? Like, you should
Yeah.
start Google.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
let's just say I lost a couple $100,000 on Google ads. So that's,
Oh,
well, yeah, sad times. But
wow.
and then I was like, wait, I can't keep spending this money. I'm gonna go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And then I really got serious about social
Yeah.
and trying to figure it out, because I had a social media manager that I worked with. She was a great person. But especially in legal, like, I think it's any business. Like, you have to have a really clear understanding of like your your people and your message and your voice. And I didn't. And so once I figured that out, then
Yeah.
it became super easy. Like social is now where I get all my clients from. Like for the most part, unless they're, word of mouth referrals or friends or something like that. But social is like my primary place for new business.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't run Google Ads anymore. It's just like wasn't a good ROI for me because I can't compete with LegalZoom. Like I can, that's who I am
Yeah.
competing with on Google, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're burning and churning the money. And you know what's so interesting? I've been like pondering just in the ad marketing space so much is like we don't know someone's business end goal. So like LegalZoom's end goal or whoever the bigger entity who's spending the most, like
Mhm.
theirs could be to sell. So they just want to have a huge client list. And so they're fine breaking even or taking a loss or on the first client because they know they'll spend X. But we don't know their story. So yeah, I agree. It's Google is a beast. We do some Google ads, but it has to be like very specific and make sense because it can get freaking expensive. That's okay. So I love that once you figured out social was where it was going to be. Was that more in like Instagram and then lately just threads somewhat, but mainly Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, I still have no kind of idea what I use Threads for. It's like random stuff. I'll just
Me
like
too.
randomly post on there. I'm a little intimidated by Threads, truth be told.
Yeah.
I feel like I probably have hit my stride on Instagram. Like I feel like I communicate well on that like platform and in those mediums.
Yeah.
Just
I
easy for me
agree.
to like my mission like with legal stuff because I also had a membership where
Okay.
it was like education based. We did twice a month, like trainings to our members, like on legal stuff, Q&As, like that kind of, um, type of platform an information based like membership. And the challenge with that was not like members not wanting to be in it. Like we had low churn rate, we had like, good amount of members. Um, it was just that they got so overwhelmed. And
Wow.
think I figured out why. Like,
Yeah.
is trying to teach like high level stuff at that frequency to like somebody who is worried about so many other things, like your real life, your marketing, your own clients, your own customers, like, and then have to hear like a lawyer in your ear like every week in your email, twice a month, show up to these calls, like me sending out templates to them. Like it does become like information overwhelm. And
Yeah.
I think why my social works well is because we try to keep it fun. Like,
Yeah.
mix that high level like information education, but in a like funny kind of way so that you're
Right.
still like engaged and can process it better. So I'm so excited for this new thing I'm launching, by the way. Uh, but I
Yeah.
think it's like problem solved if I have to like so
Ooh.
excited about it. But then so that's yes, I totally got off track with your question there.
No, no.
I
I
love Instagram and I just scroll on
yeah.
TikTok. Like TikTok is where I scroll from my personal. I have an account. I don't do anything there, but I just like watch, outfit videos and home decor.
Yes, that's right. That's my kinda, like, buffering time is TikTok
Yeah.
too. I have not ventured out. It's so interesting when you talked about your membership and what you learned from it. Like, another huge lesson I try to show other entrepreneurs and then am learning myself in many ways is, like, you're not gonna knock it out of the park the first time.
Mhm.
And so, imagine if you had been like, "Oh, well, this didn't work out the way" and you know it's still good and helpful,
Mhm.
but to then iterate and be like, "What could make this better?" How has
Yeah.
that been for you? Like, from starting it and when are you launching it? Because I think
Well,
right
yeah, so I had my membership for 2 years and I closed it down at the beginning of this year.
okay.
And like Q1, I guess. My goal was to have this new thing launched by June. It's not going to happen because I've gone through many like iterations of it and just kind of fine tuning everything. Can I tell you when I'm launching?
Yes, I'm so excited, and we can time this based on when it's coming out.
It is called The Legal Zine, and it is a digital magazine.
I'm
It's
so
not just
excited.
a mag, it's really a legal like content membership, but it's going to be fun.
I
So it's like delivered to your email. in a like PDF format. So you don't have to go log into Kajabi. You don't have to log into Thrivecart. Like you can consume it in the email.
In your inbox.
Yeah, which I just love so much, like from a consumer perspective, because I'm in a lot of memberships and I hate having to log because I can't remember my login. Like I don't like having to log into the places. Anyway, um, and what's going to be cool about it is that it's going to have different, it's really truly like a magazine. So it'll have like legal horoscopes and like fun little sections like home office spotlights from different guests. So we can like spotlight other small businesses, right? Who are like, want a little small feature, but it's not like
Right.
paid. It's just, send me a picture of your home office and I'll put it in.
Fun.
Like I mean, you don't have to like pay to be in it. 'Cause I know like there's
Yeah.
like big thing out there about anyways.
Yes, well, that could be a whole other
Right.
podcast, right?
Yeah.
I
So it's really, but then again, we're going to have like a cover story, an actual training, a video training that will be inside of that, where you can go in 10-minute mini training. It'll have a template in it, swipe copy, like from the desk of a lawyer that you can use in your business. So lots of fun things. And again, like a crossword puzzle. So I'm so
so
excited.
okay, so we will have this go out as I'm, like, listening to this, we will have this go out right when it's launching. So
It's
once you know.
September.
Okay. I'm so excited. Okay, so we're chatting now in July about it. So when people are hearing this now, it will be in September. You can go get in right now, and I cannot wait to see more. I love that it'll be in your inbox because I love your emails too because I am like the inbox girly. I don't know my passwords,
Yeah.
and it's so nice to just like digest what you have to read. And then of course, well, actually, honestly, even when I get your templates, like knowing they on the next page, I just click download and go to work. I'm like, this is what I need. And then of course it's in my inbox. But that is so fun. I love
Yeah,
that you
I'm
are
really
having
excited. So it will be like a Google PDF inside. So like you get it, you know what I mean? So everybody has like Google. I've come across a few people who hate Google Docs, but like
oh,
I'm gonna use
that's
it.
gotta be rare. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the like, you know, it's the exception, not the rules here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just you can tell I'm nervous about this offer because I'm really like deeply have associated myself with this offer. I
Yeah.
personally have like I've never like been officially diagnosed with ADHD or anything, but I'm
Yeah.
certain I have it. Like
Yeah.
because I cannot finish like a 30-minute video. That's why I'm like keeping everything 10 minutes or under and just like varying the content to keep it engaging and still learning the legal stuff. Like the crossword puzzle will be legal terms that you need to know.
I love that.
So I've helped like probably um maybe like 1,000 or so clients so far through the law firm. Um, and the thing I would say is that the biggest challenge any business owner faces, whether they're like brand new or super experienced, has always been issue spot. The whole concept of like, you don't know what you don't know. The law truly does not care at all. Like that is not the standard there. Ignorance of the law is no defense. Like that's the legal phrase. And it's so true even with business. And so that is the purpose of the magazine is to help you issue spot and obviously understand. But that's what I do for my clients in general is like, when they have me review a contract, what am I doing? I'm looking for like issues, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be able to like educate CEOs and consumers just to be able to do that themselves.
It's so smart. No, I'm excited. All right, we'll put the link in the show notes once you have it. But yes, this will if you're listening, you're like, I need this, go to the show notes and get it. That was really cool. And I love when a business owner will pivot and not quit. I think that's the best. So A, good on that. And then B, when we talk about issue spotting, it's so interesting. I think because I'm a kid of a lawyer, and I wonder if your kids will grow up this way, I see things so differently now. And I'm like, I am thankful for this new resource because then I can just send people that way and be like, you need to get this figured out. But like how is it as an attorney and a business owner when you're like scrolling and you see things that are like blatantly like here are things off the top of my mind. Health and wellness providers
Yeah.
who are giving medical information that shouldn't. I
Yeah.
think about like going to a retreat and the liability of being at someone's
Mhm.
place that's not yours and that like it's just like my brain goes through all of these and like
Yeah.
how do you do that as an attorney when you're like you're probably seeing stuff every freaking day, right?
Yeah. So, I said I've been in law for 14 years. I still have a personal injury practice, and that is where my background is. So I have spent 14 years suing businesses,
Yeah,
and suing, individuals for like negligence, right? And that means like they did something not knowingly, but it caused somebody else harm, right? So like when you're talking about retreats, that's the first thing that pops in my mind. So it's when I write like a custom contract for coach or somebody hosting a retreat. Those are like the kinds of things we work on, liability waivers, and all that good
yeah,
stuff, because it is such like, again, we don't, these things are rare. Like, let's not scare
yes,
everybody out there. They're probably not going to happen. But if they do, if somebody falls in a pool drunk and drowns, right? Are you responsible? Well, you may be if you didn't have a waiver. Like, there's a lot that
yeah,
goes into it. So, yeah, nonetheless, business owners, they get into these like binds and then usually will seek out a lawyer. But I think what myself and a bunch of my colleagues in the space are doing now is like trying to be proactive about it, like
yeah,
through like social media and stuff, trying to inform people about like the risks of X, Y, and Z. Um,
yeah.
so that's that's kind of like the fun thing for me to do. I like that.
Okay, so when you see and, like, you can call it out, it's so interesting because I feel like there's things with me in marketing that, like, I can't help myself, like, if a pixel's not on someone's site, I'm like, "Hey," if we're in conversation, like, "Hey, you wanna get
Oh,
this on?" Even if like, are there times where you have to hold yourself back
yeah.
or, like
Well, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. So, it's every state is different. So lawyers are licensed by the state in which they like reside or practice in. And then you
Yeah,
can be like multi-state licensed. You can go take a bar or like application to the bar, like to be licensed in multiple states.
yeah,
Every state that I know of, like our bar association that governs lawyers, tells us like this ethical rule book of what we can and can't do. One of those is like client outreach. We are not allowed to reach out to
mm.
clients to say, unless they like ask for it. You
So,
can't
like,
be like,
I saw this, I wouldn't do this. That would
right.
be, like, solicitation. So you can educate on your platform then?
It's a fine line. Like saying
Yeah,
I wouldn't do this, I say you can probably argue both ways on that. But like if somebody there's a coach out there that's like, um, saying like join my 7-figure retreat and you'll walk away with everything you need to make 7 figures this year. And if I were to reach out and say, hey, this isn't FTC compliant, let me help you with your marketing so you don't get sued. I think that's solicitation. Whereas me
yeah,
saying like, I don't know, check out this post, like there's a gray line there. I
yeah,
wouldn't be the one to send them a post, but it depends on your bar. Every state's a little different, but like
yeah.
you silly shouldn't, as a lawyer, reach out to somebody like, "Hey, I noticed you didn't trademark your logo. Let me do that for you. I'll give you our
Yeah,
special rate." No,
yeah, it's so
yeah,
interesting,
you're not
and,
supposed to.
like yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, if we're talking about 7 figures here, with the FTC and with income claims, do you just feel like it is out of control right now with
Yeah.
people I
And it's been like that for a while though, right? Like at least a few years. Like
yeah,
I'm pretty much as long as I've had my Instagram account.
yeah,
It does seem like maybe within the last year, like some people are trying harder to be a little bit clear in the marketing, although not everyone. And I do think with the master resale rights community, like explosion, that has perpetuated a lot of these like ridiculous income claims and
yeah,
like results claims. Like it's just a like volcano waiting to explode,
yeah,
legally speaking. Um, anyway, there's a lot I could say on that subject, but I mean, I do think that at least like 3 or 4 times a day, like if I'm truly scrolling social, I'll see like something that's they shouldn't be saying. Um, and I'm not going to be the one to post and be like, you shouldn't be saying that. Although I think that, like for example, as Threads is an example, people will post on there and be like, hey, lawyers of Threads, what do I do here? Like, actually, guys, you're not supposed to give legal advice.
yeah,
Lawyers of Threads posts, but you can speak generally, like answer a question generally and be like, for like, trying to get them to do a consultation. So I
yeah,
didn't want to be like everybody, like all lawyers posting online are bad. Like, no, please, I do the
no,
same thing. But it's a kind of a different level of like ask and answer versus just like
yeah.
reach out.
Yeah, that's very interesting. No, I'm intrigued by it. Like the income claim, it's stuff I've been
Oh yeah.
seeing now is just like and just in general things. And I think that's also why you have to interview your service provider or talk to your coach more and ask the hard
Mhm.
questions. Like, I'm like down to clown with being asked great questions because then I know, I mean, A, questions are a buying signal, either way, depending on how they go. And I'm like, I want to know someone's doing their research versus being like, oh, so and so is offering, like you said, you'll be able to make seven figures after this.
Yeah.
How can you claim that? So like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah, and you
how
shouldn't. So, okay. You can income claims, income like testimonials, like people saying, "Oh, I took her program and I had a $50,000 launch." Like those are super powerful testimonials and case studies, and you should definitely use them and showcase them on your
Yeah,
sites. It'd be stupid not to, but there are rules that the FTC says that you have to follow with regard to those. So, like when we are using these like exceptional results or exceptional student results, for example,
yeah,
and saying like, this person made seven figures. That's why this is a seven-figure studio. Just a generic term. I'm sure it
yeah,
exists out there.
yeah,
You do need to tell people what is the typical result that can be expected, or that has, the typical like student has achieved by going through this program. You actually have to tell them
yeah,
what the typical result is. You can't just use that boilerplate statement that's like results are not typical anymore. You've seen that a lot like with weight loss
yeah,
commercials. But if you'll notice, like in the fine print of weight loss commercials, they will actually tell you like it's 2 pounds a week on average.
yeah, wow,
So yeah, that's just, kind of a legal factoid to take with you
yeah,
from this episode is make sure you're giving people showcase those amazing results. But I think it's good practice to showcase, and it's like more authentic to showcase the people who maybe they like made 5,000 on a launch after taking your coaching program or something. Maybe they didn't
yeah.
make $1 million, but it's still something. Like I think that that is still probably feels more achievable to a lot of folks out there, and is more authentic than just like highlighting those exceptional ones anyways.
Well, and I don't think people realize what they're setting themselves up for expectation-wise if
Mhm.
that is the marketing you do. And
Mhm.
then someone comes in and they have a $5,000 launch, which is great, great.
Yeah.
That's $5,000 you didn't have before this launch. And were they thinking it was going to be 1,000,000 because of how you sold, then you're really in a bind, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, a friend of mine, and copywriter of she writes a ton of my copy, Kaylee Meyer with Reveal Studio Co. She had just
Okay.
posted on Threads the other day, um, about like if you claim to have like a luxury design something, make sure it's not just expensive, that it's actually luxury.
I
Um,
saw that threat. Yes.
Yes. And that's just, an example in a different industry. Like, it doesn't have to be coaching. It can be any industry where you're making these kinds of claims. Like, you really do need to deliver on them. Um,
Yeah.
and like you said, expectations, right? Because you're going to have like a bad review. Somebody pays you 10 grand for a brand, like, and then you give them like stuff and you give it to them 6 months late. Like, they're going to be pissed off. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's so wild. I actually met with someone this morning who's gonna come to us to do some branding and initial marketing, and then kind of the path now we get them ready and then come back to us for ads, right?
Yeah.
So, like, let's prove this and let's see what we can do.
Hmm.
And so she said, "Oh, I was just burned by a coach." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I hate to hear that. Let's talk more about it. What happened?" And she's like, "Oh, well, they left a coach they were coaching with, started a new business in health and wellness." And I was like, "Oh, well, what do they owe you deliverable wise?" And they're like, "I don't even know, but I know they haven't given me what I need." I think they're supposed to get a lead magnet out of it
Yeah.
and email series and something. And I just was like, "Go please pull that." This was like on a sales call, but I was like,
Yeah.
before we even worked together, and they said, "Hey, I paid them in full." And so I've already paid them. I said, "Well, you're still working with them until what, September 1st or something?" And so I said, politely hold them to the fire and be like, "Hey, this is what we signed and this is what I get."
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that conversation like in from what we were talking about kind of felt like it was a wash, like, "Oh, I already paid them." I'm like, no, like that is why you agree to what you agree,
Mhm.
And so I think on the review side of like what their reputation, what happens, but B, like just the freaking follow through and
Yeah.
how us as consumers and buyers, we can hold them to that if we have that good agreement.
Yeah.
What do they say? Good fences make good neighbors. That's what I
Oh,
always
yeah.
say, you know?
That's like a
And
contract. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something good to look through. So it's been eye-opening, and I do wonder, I'm like, if I didn't grow up in that, just seeing my dad do that and litigation, all this stuff, if I would be less cautious, and I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would just be like, "Oh, let's do this, let's do that." But now that lens, you can't help but see it.
Yeah.
So, no, that's
Mhm.
a good point about luxury too, and the words you use. Like, are you delivering
Yeah.
what you're saying? And are you
Yeah. And it's really hard to like I know it's easy for us to like as a third party and even as like people's lawyers when they a lawyer for somebody when they come to me, it's like easy for me to say, well, send them an email before you hire me to do a cease and desist or a demands letter. Like just do a quick ask. But like it can be a lot to put on somebody who's not used to that level of confrontation that it requires to actually like speak up for yourself. So
Yeah,
I think that again, like that's kind of my job in general is to act as that person, like that advocate for people. That's not to say I don't have my own problems. Like I sometimes want to speak up for myself. I've had like as you were talking about the ads agency, remember I said I had lost like a couple $100,000. One of the
yes.
ads agencies I hired, like actually like I was paying them like a amount for ad spend in addition to the agency fee. And
Yeah.
like, they were not doing the media buying. Right. And so like my money was going, but it just wasn't
Oh,
yeah. So, you find out these things and then it's hard to act on them. Sometimes it wasn't hard for me in that situation.
yeah.
But being
I
special
hope I
is
hope
a different level. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, there's always sensitivities involved, especially like for online brands in general, right? So like
yeah,
risk control, risk aversion, like that's a big part of what I do too for people.
yeah,
Is kind of helping them manage like crises. Um, and you'll see a lot of people like put other people on blast, on social when things go wrong. And I think there's a time and a place for that. Like if somebody is truly not accepting responsibility for something, like I was actually thinking about polling my audience, like what's more important to them, like the court of law or the court of public opinion? Like what do you really care about more? Because, I legally speaking, like you really shouldn't put some people on blast. Like all, it's because one, sometimes it violates the platform's bullying policies.
wow,
Two, like if there is misunderstanding or a small, seemingly like innocuous fact that's not correct. Like you could be responsible for defamation or slander, like
yeah,
depending on the medium. Um, long story short,
right,
it's just like it's tricky running a business. And so I think that goes back to like just my ultimate goal, right? Is like a lawyer in this space and having learned most of these lessons the hard way and seen my clients learn them the hard way too.
yeah.
Is we're trying to like be a little proactive in our approach.
Yeah. I like that too, where it's not just like pick up the emergency phone and call Amber like, "Uh-oh, here's what I got myself into." It's like, how can we plan ahead and be proactive? And
Yeah.
I will tell you what, I know you are friends with my friend Katie Pinnell, who talks about naming, and I will tell you I got bit in the hiney with a trademarking thing that I should
Mhm.
have trademarked.
Mhm.
And we're
Yeah.
looking into it now, but I will tell you that is such an interesting thing too of like
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, I'm sure you see this all the time. We move fast,
Mhm.
get things done. We want to launch it. We want to run.
Yeah.
And there's something in slowing down to speed up to
Yeah.
protect.
No doubt. Like trademark is so tricky. And when you're like, this has happened to me with my the legal team, like my trademark
Mhm.
is pending for it. I filed the application, but the first like 6 names I came up with were already taken. So,
Yeah,
it goes at the speed of lightning. And the tricky part with that is like if you don't search, you launch, you have a 100K launch, and then you get a cease and desist slash demand letter. What a trademark owner's rights are is that they can do this ask for something that's called disgorgement, and it literally means you have to pay them all the profits you made using their trademark. So as we
yeah.
that would not be what we want to do. So it's really
That doesn't make a 100K launch in your business anymore. It's in their
yeah,
business.
you did it for them basically. Yeah, that's not fun. And yeah, but so like at minimum, I think that people just need to be doing is like a basic trademark clearance search before you launch your next thing. Cause no, realistically, unless you're like really balling in business, I don't think it makes financial sense for every single offer to be trademarked. You know what I mean? But definitely a clearance search so that like you're not like stepping on some big, trademark bully's toes or something.
Yeah, it's very well, yeah, and then you have the people who are searching for it. Was it you who posted that may was it you that had
Mhm.
bought your domain name
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
or
Yeah, so
trademarked something and then someone was buying your domain name? I forget, but it
yeah, it was the legal team. Like, I didn't buy the domain, and I know better. Like, I do this for people. It's in my welcome, like, or like, congrats, your application has been filed, and in the welcome email, like reminders, like, buy your domain. Like, so it's all, and I know that. I didn't particularly want like the legal zine. In
yeah,
retrospect, like maybe I should just bought it, like just to have it so somebody else couldn't buy it and be an idiot about like, and now it's for sale for like several $1,000s. But I mean, I could easily get it back, I think, with a because it was not for sale prior to
boo.
application. So there is a proceeding. It's like an administrative proceeding through WIPO. And that is like this intellectual property organization where you file and you get to go back and forth with them. It's not super difficult.
Yeah,
It's just a little time consuming and it is very technical. So that said, like you have to prove that somebody bought it after you filed with the like
wow.
kind of like pricing it out of the market, like out of like what a standard market would be for it, and that they did it in time. Now if it's you can easily get that information like
Yeah,
record.
so yeah, record.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
there are methods to get it back. So it's not like it's gone forever by any means, but
Yeah,
it becomes a hassle, right? And then it's like, oh, now I got to go have an attorney to file this administrative proceeding for me. Like, what the heck?
yeah,
So yeah, but that did happen to me. It's happened to several of my colleagues. Granted, again, I didn't necessarily want the domain, but like maybe
yeah.
I should have gotten it.
I know, you think about it and you're like,
Yeah.
"Dang it." But it's like, we have for clients, like, a pre-launch checklist,
Mhm.
and I need to add in, like, figure out your trademarks, like,
Mhm.
in addition to getting their domains and doing all that, like, is
Yeah.
it worth, do you
Yeah.
wanna give it up? Or at least I agree I love that do the search,
Yeah.
like, and you know what is funny is with the agency name that I'm rebranding, I'm trying to not have my name, so I have Launch by JR LLC.
Mhm.
My business right now is Launch with Jordan, and I want to take launch out of it because I don't want to launch for the rest of my life, even though I will. And I want to take my name out of it because we have a great team and all that good stuff. And so with that, Katie and I came up with this great name and all this good stuff. It fits in with my podcast, my program. And we did the search, but someone freaking right after did it. And so it wasn't even like I'm like, "Ugh, I should just get it good," if you know you want it for your business, but it's just such a reminder of, like, get your ducks in a row and then launch and take a minute.
Yeah.
So, I may end up reaching out my lawyer is gonna give me their recommendation, and then maybe if I don't know if I like what they say, I'll come to you and be like, "Can I book a call? Let's see what."
Yeah.
Because it's just
I'm sure they've got you. Yeah.
it's a different
Yeah.
it's a different use they're using it for, so I'm like, I think we may be okay, but it's very interesting. And uh but it's just funny because I'm like, had I slowed down, I was just like, "Oh, it'll be there," but we don't know what other people and brains are working on. So,
Yeah.
I love that reminder too of like, get your ducks in a row and like you have look at the checklist that you
Yeah.
provide people, and we'll link them in the show notes too. You have some good resources on your site as well. Is there anything that, like, if someone's listening and they're like, I need
Yeah.
to get my ducks in a row, where should they head first?
Okay, so I think the most common question I get from people is like, I don't know where to start. Like, I know I need to get this legal stuff in order, but I don't know where to start. So, if you are marketing your business online, I highly suggest you get the online marketing legal policies checklist. It's like a new
Oh,
free resource that I put together. It
perfect.
just lists out like it takes you 10 minutes to look at it. It lists out what you need and where you need it in terms of
Cool.
your policies to protect that legal footprint that you're creating. Online footprint that you're creating, like
Yeah, the
from being
digital.
protected. Yeah,
Yeah,
because your website is your digital footprint, right? And that's where all your transactions happen. And like I'm using the term website like vaguely. The same applies for like Thrivecart, StanStore, like any of those carts platforms. Like you still need your own policies there to protect you as a business owner. StanStore, bless their heart, it's like so I don't know the word for it, but like every creator I've seen create their stand store, um, like Coach in particular, and they're using like the Stan Store's policies, the legal policies that they make available for you. But the thing is they're written for Stan Store. They talk about
Yeah,
Stan Store's policies, not like
yeah.
your own policies.
You.
Um, yeah, anyway, so you need your own. Like, even if the platform has some there, like, read it. Like, make sure that you understand what that policy says.
Yeah.
One of the platforms that I love, Shopify, they actually have a
Mhm.
template, terms of service and a privacy policy that you can use, that they make available to their subscribers. They're
Wow.
not bad. Like, there's some improvements that you can be made to those policies, like, and
Yeah.
I think mine are superior, but they're not bad. So, like, those are true templates where you pop in your business information, copy and paste onto your site. The ones in
Yeah.
like Stan Store, as of like the recording of this episode, they are not like that. So
Yeah.
you need to have your own.
And protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like well, and that's such a good reminder is, like, some people are using Stan Store or they're using, like, a Thrivecart checkout page
Mhm.
in lieu of not having a site yet,
Yeah.
but it's like, you still need to have it live, the
Mhm.
privacy policy live in a place where people can
Yeah.
refer back.
Yeah, you can even have it like hosted as a PDF in Google Doc. Like, you don't have
Yeah.
to like a view only. It doesn't have to be a website. Like, you just need a link for it.
Just to have to
Mhm.
link to it. I
Yeah,
like
but
that
if it's in
too.
Thrivecart, like I'm pretty sure they have like they make those pages as part of their carts. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's there.
Okay, that's really neat. No, people listening need to go to your site. They need to check out your new offer, but then also get that marketing checklist so that they can start getting things their ducks in a row while learning from, and I want to make sure I say it, LegalZine. Is that
The Legal Zine.
the
Yeah.
LegalZine? I love it. I'm
Like
excited to see what
legal magazine, Legal Zine.
magazine. I'm no, I think it's so good. And so, okay, so my I have one last business question for you, and then we'll wrap up with the fun side of things as it's clicks and giggles. So I know you help women business owners all the time. What are ways or a way that you see people leaving money on the table right now, and how what can they do to get in line? I think we just started talking about it, this whole time, but is there anything right off the top of your head that you're like, go check this now and get it in lock?
Okay, so the biggest asset you can have in your business is your intellectual property. So if you haven't already looked into like what can you trademark, what can you
Yeah.
copyright, those assets will transfer. Like if your goal is ever to sell your company, those assets will add to the value. And a lot of buyers want you to have a registered trademark, or if you have a course, have it copyrighted prior to them purchasing your company. That's like
Yeah.
the proactive step. The reactive step, I
Yeah.
think what most business owners are messing up right now is not having your return and refund policies, like depending on your thing, visible to your buyer. And so I would say add it into these spots. Make sure that it's on your product description, make sure it's in an FAQ, and again at checkout. That way your customers will have that expectation you were talking about. They know what to expect for the purchase. You are less likely to get things like chargebacks, bad
Yeah.
reviews, and unhappy customers. I think that's the biggest, like you could get that done in 15 minutes. Like go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to look at that for my program because I need to go look at that on the FAQs. I know we have like the terms and
Mhm.
we draft all that, but I love the idea of just having it so visible so that you can say like, no, like, it's hey, it's here, here, and here. And I love that transparency. Okay, if you're listening, go look at your policies in that regard, and then reach out to Amber on Instagram and look at her website because she can help you with the rest. This is so good. Okay, so the fun side of things. So I know y'all just moved. And so what are some things when you're not working, when you have your firm and then also this business protecting business owners, what do you like to do for fun? What's making you giggle these days?
Okay, so something I love to do for fun is we are a parks family. I know I mentioned that to you
Yeah.
before this episode started, but we love like, going out, taking the kids to splash pads and stuff like that. I am a like mom, so I do everything with my kids. I do everything with my kids. I was thinking like the other day how I've been trying to find a babysitter.
Mhm.
Mom's like, that's not fun at all. Yes, but, when I get a babysitter back, I'm gonna return to my nail girl era. I'm a spa person. That is my idea of a good time. Like, like, if you could put me in a spa day, like massage, facial, nails, pedicure, like, that's all I need. That's all I
That's
need to be happy.
It sounds so good, and
Yeah.
that sounds so good. So that's how you kind of obviously, you have sweet time with your family, parks, out and about, outdoors, but then your you time is gonna
Yeah.
be some
I'm a spa
good self-care.
person. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'm not it's so funny because like I have an Instagram page that's like kind of funny, but like I'm be totally transparent. Like I have somebody on my team that helps me be funny.
That's hilarious. Hey,
And I'm not
we
gonna tell
love
anybody who she is because you can't have her.
no, I was gonna say, you have your work is great. That freaking SPF campaign this summer, so good. I was like, that is a scroll stopper. It was beautiful. It was clever.
Oh,
It was great. I shopped from it, but no, yeah, we won't give your secrets away. But I still think you're funny, just from us
thank you.
talking here. You've made law approachable, and as I love if there's anything that someone can get out of this too, it's like the idea of being proactive and not reactive. Like,
Yeah.
why don't you use Amber now? And then if you need her, obviously reach out. But what can you do now to be proactive? I love that what you're doing for people. No, I
Thank you
think
so
you're
much.
fantastic. But
Awesome.
no, well, I am so glad we had you today. I cannot wait for people to get your new offer, start learning issue spotting and fixing them, myself included. So if you've enjoyed this episode, head to the show notes, head to Amber's marketing checklist for the legal and just getting yourself protected, and then her new offer. And hopefully we'll have you on in the future so we can hear how everything's going. And I'm sure there'll be some new thing in the online world we can chat about then. But again, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thanks for having me, Jordan.
Yay!
Bye.